Hi, and welcome to the I Teed Myself podcast. My name is Matthew Miniman, and this is episode 116. What can English Longbowman teach us about security adoption? So today, again, I have Jerome. Jerome is here. Jerome is with us. Hooray! The inevitable, the incorrigible, the inaccuratable. I don't know where it's going. Anyway, it's Jerome.
It works. Yeah, I think yours works. Hey, everybody. Thank you, Matthew.
You're welcome. Oh, Jerome, you got your normal disclaimer.
Yep. Anything I say in this podcast is my personal opinion based on my experience. No reflection or bearing on my employer or any other organizations I might or might not be associated with.
Hooray! Get that shit out of the way.
Yeah, I think that covers I don't know if it's a universal coverage, but it's pretty close.
Oh man, yeah, you can say anything now. Anything. This is like a kid with an axe. Speaking of axes and children, I don't know why I said that. That's a terrible segue. Anyway, the English. What do you know about the English?
They should not make meals other than breakfast.
Oh man, I was gonna agree.
Yeah, I like an English breakfast. I should have just been a positive person instead of a negative person. I like an English breakfast. That's what I know about the English.
Yeah. I don't know. Fish and chips that's a good one. You can do that. And did you know? Total tangent, but tikka chicken marsala is actually an English dish. It's not Indian. Now. You know, without their ability to invade other countries, probably wouldn't be able to make it. But tikka marsala is absolutely an English dish.
Huh. That's really cool to know.
You know, so one of the things that we do know about the English is that they fucking loved war. They loved war so goddamn much that they actually had a war called the 100 Years' War. It just never fucking ended. Now, the 100 Years' War, imagine this. You've got this never-ending succession of kings and confusion about where royalty and lords lie. You have an unconscionable amount of invasions from the Welsh, the Normans, fucking the French, because the French are always fucking with the English. And this is all post-Roman England. So Rome fell, and all of these motherfuckers decided, hey, there's this island out there that looks really green. We should go and attack it. And then they completely ignore Ireland and go to the UK. Instead, go to England instead, for whatever reason.
Just a little bit further than they had miles, like you can only use the mileage from your credit card to go so far, and just Ireland was outside the limit.
I thought it was because of the potatoes and maybe they had some sort of allergy, but that might just be me.
Man, my next guess was leprechauns, but okay.
Oh man, I didn't even think about that. So with the English, with all of this warring going on, obviously when war occurs, people are always trying to gain an advantage in war and battle. And so tactics are developed. And one of the other things that they attempt to do is, they develop better armor. And better armor means less danger from things like archery and infantry. And so the English seem to develop sometime as early as the 1100s, what we now refer to as the English longbow. And this English longbow, the reason why it is so important in a historical stance is that this is really one of the first examples of a weapon being designed to thoroughly decimate an entire armored, I don't want to say platoon, but an entire armored army. Really, that sounds really weird to say, armored army. For me, okay.
Yeah, like that gives you at least it could cover the whole army or some segment of the army. But yeah, because I don't think platoons is a thing. I don't know when that term came around or the idea of that rigid structure. Total non sequitur. But yeah, the formation.
Yeah. Well, for those of us who aren't lieutenant, who aren't lieutenant up your ass, We don't know these things. Platoon is just a group of guys, honestly. So anyway,
I'm lieutenant up your ass. I don't know.
I don't know. Or at least then I don't know.
Anyway,
So with these longbows as they developed them, they were able to pierce the armor of these of the heavy cavalry of armored soldiers, and they were just really strong, and they could fire a very long distance, talking about up to 300 meters in a high arcing shot, and the arrows could pierce thick steel armor and do damage to troops as they moved across the battlefield before they reached the front lines of the other infantry or cavalry divisions. So that being said, one of the things that really that's not really the most interesting part about the English longbow. Some of the other stuff, some of the other facts in this are that the draw weight could be anywhere from as low as 100 pounds to up to 180 pounds, which means that's how much force it takes to pull the string across your body. And if you think about that draw weight, you're pulling that with a single arm. So that's 180 pounds per arm that you're pulling that draw weight. It's not 180 pounds collectively. No, each arm is doing that. And with the English longbow, those that practiced it and that were trained in English longbow were they actually had their skeletal structure changed. Like they were so built that their left arms were the ones that were actually doing most of the work. That arm is significantly larger than their right arm.
yeah,
It's crazy.
they had like Arnold Schwarzenegger in just one section of their bodies.
I was going to say Popeye, but yeah.
I think they had to have walked. Just looking at like some of the writings, they had to have walked like lopsided. Like maybe they had a prop under one arm to hold it up as they walked.
They were there. I was thinking they were going to be crabs. That like they walked around with like crabs.
Yeah, the one big pincher. Yeah, because they had one part of their body that was so much more built up because of like, and again, the professionals, people who did it nonstop. I thought it was cool. Like when Matthew pointed this out, I didn't know that there was actually an English law in this period saying, "Hey, yo, everybody, get on the bow, practice. It's a law."
Yeah.
So like they could find plenty of people to be like, no, Jerome, you stay over there and keep farming. Matthew, you're pretty beefy. Let's come over here and get you into the professional corps. And then, I would be a broken peasant in 5 years. Matthew would have like a lopsided arm in 5 years. But that's crazy. I didn't know the law gave them that foundation of everyone having to do it. And then some people would get really good at it. Not that that's anything else, right?
Well, yeah. It was so important that like they removed all other sports from being practiced on Sundays except for archery. So basically on this day of rest, they were like, no, you have to fucking focus on archery. If you're gonna do anything other than farm, you're doing archery, bro. You're gonna have to practice this archery. And again, yeah, like you said, they were targeting these specific individuals for the best, so that the best of the best could be in the actual army to help fight. And so when we look at when you look at an organization for cybersecurity and you are considering the best ways to protect yourself as an organization, one of the largest contributors to a safe organization or an organization that is secure is the mentality of the people within. Now, what we mean by this is that really it comes from a top down. It comes from the top down, really. When you are looking at a cybersecurity platform and you're looking to improve your own cybersecurity posture, it needs to have buy-in and ownership from the leadership of the company. There have been a lot of organizations that I've worked for and that I have as clients where the C-suite basically is like, no, just figure it out. Yeah, whatever you say, whatever you guys say is good. but you guys just figure it out. And that's wrong because there's no buy-in, no real buy-in from the C-level. Basically, they're just like, yeah, we'll do whatever, or they don't really give a shit, and it doesn't flow well down the rest of the folk. And so what you need in an organization is you need full buy-in from everybody. You need everybody to be moving in the same direction and aware of the same things as far as a security perspective. And it's the idea that you are constantly practicing good practices. You're constantly doing good practices for cybersecurity. It's, not sending executables across email, not storing data in just open files, not sharing shit to your personal email and being like, hey, check this out. Check out this link, and making everybody have a risky click of the day. Not doing these things that could potentially lead to your organization getting compromised, and not asking for people to skip the real cybersecurity or any of the cybersecurity steps, because that's another thing we see is that people are like, oh well, what if I skip this specific thing, or hey, I know what I'm doing. I don't need to have all this security software on my stuff. I don't need to have the antivirus. I don't need to have a DNS filter. I can have local admin because I know what I'm doing.
No, you don't.
Nobody does. We've talked about power users and how they suck, but
yeah, no. And the best part is that every power user is like, no, I'm the exception. No, dude, we all suck. We all make mistakes. We all click on shit that we shouldn't because we get tired, distracted, whatever. It's the humans that are the weak part, and the freaking C-suite not being professional or educated enough to realize they're either not educated enough and to listen to the experts they hired, or whatever, aware enough that they're the problem too. Like, and you're 100% right. It stems from that. It stems from the leadership. Like King Henry, whoever, I'm sure it was a Henry, said, hey, everybody, it's on a longbow because you have to like clean it up. You have professionals. Jerome, go over there and show me how bad you are. Matthew, show me your chops.
Yeah.
Like, well, you need to care from the top down for sure.
Yeah. Well, and it's not just that care from the top down, but you also need to make sure that everybody is involved. Like, this is why security awareness trainings are a thing, because you need to make sure that everybody is given the opportunity to see the information to protect themselves and the organization and each other. The stupidest reason the reason we haven't been owned is because of the stupidest reasons on the planet. And I'll give you an example, because autism is its own superpower, and we've seen this more than once. So there was a engineer at Microsoft who was developing internal tools and built his own VMs for these tools. And he decided to open up SSH for his systems. And when he attempted to log into SSH, he noticed that the login took longer than it was normally supposed to. And when I say longer, I mean it took him a quarter of a second longer to log in than it normally did. And he thought that was too long. And he wanted to know why it took just a quarter second longer, which is mind-boggling. It's just crazy, right?
Comcast fault.
Yeah, right. Or anything else. Like, oh, I guess the version of the operating system I loaded, they added something, or I updated and it did something. But no, this bastard went in and investigated SSH and found a backdoor that somebody had placed in the SSH framework, which is an open source project. They had gotten into the GitHub, and this person had pushed a commit to put a backdoor into SSH. And this guy saw it and stopped it before it got to the rest of the world. We were stopped because some dude thought a quarter of a second was too long to wait for SSH.
Well, and had the knowledge and experience to go find out exactly why.
Exactly.
Even if I had noticed it, I would have just railed at Comcast and moved on.
Yeah. But yeah,
Up the muscles and knew how to use his left arm to effectively counter the threat of the French. Wait, does that not tie in with the longbow?
oh man, jeez, are you calling this guy an English longbowman?
I'm trying to stay on theme.
This guy absolutely would have been that if we relate this to the scenario. He was absolutely the type of person to have gone to that length.
Yeah, totally.
And that this is what we're talking about. You know, this guy, he was the one who protected us, but through the other aspects of the internal training and framework of the organization, Microsoft in this case, he was able to develop those chops, and he understood that it was an important part of his job to make sure that others were protected. And so not that I'm saying that everybody has to go out there and be like, oh, I'm going to make sure that your emails are safe, man. Let me look at your emails so I can make sure every link you click on safe. It's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is definitely feel those things out with like, hey, MFA, this is something that I'm supposed to do. And when I see something that I don't expect, I say something about it, and make sure that you're always constantly looking at that kind of behavior in your own organization and what you're doing day to day, because that's what's going to kind of let you know that something is wrong within your organization, that there's something not quite normal has happened. We see this with organizations. Like it's a question I get asked all the time. Somebody asks me, "Hey, what can I do to protect myself? You know, what do I tell my users when they're browsing or doing their normal jobs? What do I tell them to look out for?" Man, I can't tell you just the one thing to look out for. There's no silver bullet or silver arrow in this case to knock out cybersecurity. To make cybersecurity a thing, you have to do all the things. But if you are being aware and constantly in practice with cybersecurity, you can spot the things before they become problems, or you can take out the knights before they reach your front lines. You know?
Yeah.
But
I think like one thing, like what you're saying, like with all having to do everything all the time, the self-awareness to know what is the standard background noise in your organization or for you, and what are those exceptions to the noise. Because at this point, most of the time, it's not some spectacular attack of a bunch of French knights crossing the big muddy field towards the longbowmen on the hill. It's somebody, it's a French knight who's dressed up like a longbowman walking up the side of the hill like, yo, fellow longbowman, I'm one of you, and hiding in the ranks.
Do we have a Steve Buscemi of French longbowman?
Don't we all?
I want to see that. It's an Adam Sandler film. It's coming.
We all want this. But like, you have to know what the baseline of your organization is to know when it's something's hiding in the noise, because that's where the real attacks are happening nowadays. Like they're very quiet, very subtle, very minimalist as they slowly enter and then expand, which is not using the right MITRE terminology, but whatever. But like knowing that noise floor, because that's where everyone wants to hide at this point. It's not something spectacular. Sorry, another total tangent, but
no, it totally makes sense. You know, one of the things that we see with that we saw with the longbow is that, with the introduction of like the crossbow was another development in technology, because longbows were hard to draw, and all these puny Frenchmen and Normans and Welsh, they couldn't draw the longbow, and so they developed a piece of technology to combat this, which was the crossbow. Now the crossbow didn't have as far of a range as the longbow, but without having to train and build up the skills necessary to draw this English longbow, you could fire a crossbow and pierce the armor of oncoming knights, heavy cavalry, infantry, whatever, and it could allow you to protect your front lines through that method. But the problem with that is that it was incredibly expensive to make. I mean, we're talking about, and this is like the 1500s, and springs and metal actions and things like that were just atrociously expensive to make. Like the technology was barely there to do it. And so it was expensive to make. You had to have specialized skills to put them together, maintain them. And it's a problem because if you didn't have any of that and you just bought these longbow or these crossbows, eventually they'd stop working. Like they'd work really well for the first bit, and then they just stop working. And then you'd sit there with this useless tool with your stuff. Whereas, the longbowman, it's very simple, it's very easy to maintain, it's very easy to manage, and it just requires additional training. And this is where we get into trouble, when we purchase cybersecurity solutions that we believe are going to protect us. We're like, oh yeah, I bought this thing. It's going to do great. It's going to stop all of my threats at the edge. And the problem with it is that when you first deploy these tools, they work great because it's post-deployment. Some engineers set it up, but as you use it and as the configuration becomes stale and you're not aware of what it's doing, not aware of what it's connecting to, and you add stuff to your network or add stuff to your organization, it stops becoming effective. And it slowly turns down until it's no longer protecting you. But hey, you think it's protecting you, think it's going to do well, but then really once you get invaded, you're like, oh, why didn't it protect me? And you go to the vendor and you're like, hey, why didn't this protect us? And they have to say, well, it's because you didn't do the things necessary to protect yourself. You didn't invest. You weren't looking at this from an organizational perspective. You just expected a tool to protect you and not do any of the work necessary to make that tool work.
Yeah. Another analogy would be like, those poles, bollards is the actual term, but like specifically a concrete pole of a subway entrance, and people are like, go around those. Yeah, sure, those are hard points, and no one's going to go through that hard point in walking it down the subway. But if somebody puts up a fence, then nobody can get through the fence. A single crossbow is a hard point. It's a single piece of technology. It's a single amazing thing, but it's one, as opposed to a mass of crossbow, or as opposed to a massive longbow, where you have everybody in your organization doing the same thing. Everybody firing those arrows in repetition.
Everybody drawing the bow in the right direction. Oh man.
Together. And all working together. And like going back to, everybody needs to be working on this, because the weakness is any single point. So a single awesome crossbow is not as good as a formation of longbow.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not to say that technology doesn't have its place. Obviously, with the advent with the invention of black powder weapons, muskets, and eventually rifles and so on, the longbow became obsolete in war. You still have to require that training. You still have to require the ability to do the cybersecurity tasks without relying on your technology as a whole. The training is still there. I mean, the English army, the English military is still has remnants of these trainings for English longbowmen in existence today in their training platform. It's part of their base training. And it's because these practices are good. These are good practices to continue. And in your organization, it is, even if you have all of the tools at your disposal, even if you have every new piece of technology that comes out and you're maintaining it well and you're performing these tasks well, it does pay to continue to practice the same behaviors to keep yourself secure, making sure that you have security awareness training, that you have proper password security. All of these things will help you in your organization, making sure you don't click on every fucking link that's sent to you because, oh my God, I'm not dead yet.
What about this one discount I have on something I don't need?
It's going to turn you into a newt.
but I got better.
Who are you who are so wise in the ways of science?
Jerome?
Oh, well, there you go.
Hey.
Yeah.
I'm no king of Britain.
Yeah. Well, before we get any further and start talking about aquatic arms ceremonies with damp tarts, I think we should end this.
Yeah. I do want to throw out one thing, a really cool history thing, talking about how a longbowman in England changed their skeletal structure. Came from a discovery that was called the English Rose. It was a warship under one of the Henrys. I mean, there's at least one of them. But he had his warship and it was filled with bowmen and it sank and it preserved a whole bunch of bows and arrows and apparently some of the bowmen. And it's really kind of fascinating. But like the Mary Rose, it's just a cool history, a cool touch into history on this topic. So I just want to throw that out there.
It really this drew me because there was a picture of one of these skeletons and just the way that the skeletal structure was changed was impressive. And you're right, it looks, it's a really cool thing, and I definitely suggest investigating it. I'll put the links in the show notes, but maryrose.org is the location where you can find information on where this boat that they actually recovered, what it looked like, what it had in it, and see some of these skeletons that they were able to recover. But all that being said, I think that's all I've got time for today, guys. I hope you all have a great